about everybody here, you're looking at SAF through the lens of your local SAF unit, all right? So let's drill down a little bit further. So everything we've been saying up to this point has been the national organization, all right? Now, from there, you have what are called the state societies, all right? And this gets a little confusing in our, small state area. I'll leave New York out of this. But New England SAF, Allegheny SAF, we're called state societies. Really, we're a multi-state society. All right, we're working with a pretty large number of people. Allegheny's somewhere around 650 members.
I think it's 700.
700 members. New York is what, around 400?
About 350.
About 350. New England,
1,000.
about 1,000. So you're really working with large numbers of people over a decent geographic area. And this is really trying to meet, the local needs of the foresters in these areas. So similar to the national organization, they're governed by an executive committee. All right, that's national organization is the board of directors, and local units it's called the executive committee. Ultimately, that's the decision maker there for that unit. And below them, similar to the national organization, there are advisory committees, and these are doing the important things in the local units. And the way to think about these advisory committees is that, the executive committee can't do everything. The executive committee shouldn't do everything. They shouldn't. And I've been on organizations where it is like that. And you sit down for a meeting and, okay, well, we're going to take this time and we're going to talk about programs, we've got to plan everything out and this, that, and the other thing. And next thing you know, you've been there for 4 hours. And it's like, all right, well, when are we going to talk about the newsletter? We don't have time. Just like, hold on a second. And this is a serious leadership problem. Well, the way that this is addressed in the structure of the organization is that you have advisory committees that serve the executive committee. All right. Part of me, really loves the ability to share, new science, new technology, emerging, trends in forestry that I think that other foresters may be in. All right, I may not necessarily care about awards and recognition. All right, I just don't have time for it. Right, everybody cares, right? But time is limited, resources are limited. So really, you have to kind of budget what you're able to do and focus on. By ignoring the advisory committee model, you're wasting your executive committee's time. You're probably wasting their hair follicles as they, tear them out of their heads when, the meetings hit the 3rd hour and you've gone through like item number 2 on your agenda because nobody's done anything between meetings, right? We've never seen this before, right? So this is pretty important, and we're going to go through a lot of these committees over the course of the day. But your program committee is what runs trainings similar to this today. Your policy committee, looking at how your local unit of SAF relates to other organizations, what the policies are. How can you prepare your members or your executive committee to be able to speak coherently to state agencies or other decision makers, elected officials, about the importance of forestry. The membership committee, which is the most important committee, because without members, we don't exist. Correct? All we'd be is a little piece of paper filed in the back of some filing cabinet in DC, correct? Without members, we're really nothing. Newsletter editor. You got to have some way to prove your worth, that SAF is actually doing something, right? That might be backed up by an actual communications committee. Science and Technology Committee, awards and recognition, okay? These are things that individual members can be really turned on about and say, yeah, you know, I'd be happy to volunteer with SAF. And that sounds interesting to me. I'll do that, but I'm really not interested in X or Y or Z. I want to do this over here. And that's pretty cool that we're able to serve them in that way and have them serve the profession as well. All right, so you know, why do these things exist? Why do the state societies exist? And it's to give foresters the opportunity to network, especially in kind of an informal setting. The ability to stay informed of developments, the opportunity to use those resources of SAF, and we're talking the national organization here, to affect change on a more local level. You know, which is pretty important. Actually, it gets a little bit more important the more that we kind of drill down in there. God willing, trainings are based around what local members will benefit most from. This is something that as we get, you know, lower down within the organization, you could get really, really focused. And frankly, trainings and programs are something that SAF does exceedingly well. It's something that we know that it's one of the best things we do. Sharing success stories, this is critical and something that other folks are kind of eating our lunch on. And the last thing is to be able to bring grassroots ideas up, you know, to the national organization, and specifically through something called the House of Society Delegates, which Ken and Tom alluded to before. Divisions. So you've got that state, multi-state society. All right. New York is just one state. They don't have to worry about divisions. But New England, Allegheny, I'm going to generalize a tiny bit here, but each state has its own division. All right, I'm generalizing. Maryland and Delaware are lumped together in Allegheny. Some of the smaller states in New England are lumped together. But I'm going to speak to this as if, you know, each state were its own entity. So this here, and again, I'm going to generalize a little bit, but this is a lot of times where when people think about SAF, they're really thinking about their state division, or they're thinking about New York SAF, all right? This is kind of where they associate with. It's easy for people to think about forestry in their state, all right? When they're thinking about, you know, policy decisions, policy actions, they're thinking about their state, because so many of these policies and laws, and they're statewide, correct? So this is an area that can you know, really have the most potential to influence members. So they're governed by an executive committee. Okay, well this is, you know, now we're seeing kind of the scalability of SAF. They're advised by certain advisory committees. This is probably a slightly smaller list than we saw in the state chapters, but it's really, it makes some sense here. Membership, all right? Who's going to be, you know, the most likely to twist people's arms and get them to join or rejoin SAF? It's going to be somebody that they recognize from their state. If somebody comes to me from Pennsylvania, I'm going to say, oh, that's great, you know, but, you know, I think of SAF, you know, within my state. That's my primary way of thinking about it. A nominating committee, so that way we're nominating, you know, good people to run in the election to serve on the executive committee, because all those are elected. A policy committee. Again, how do you influence policy on a state level. This is, I know a number of our states have some very active policy committees. New York, I think of pretty much immediately, although there are, a lot of policy committees in each state that are pretty active. How do you react to an agency in state government, taking that best management practices manual and turning their interpretation from somewhere around 5 all the way up to 10? That's really a great means or a great opportunity for your local policy committee to be able to write a reasoned response to it and try to influence state government. So this is that's something that's really absolutely mission critical. Communications committee, because your members want to hear what's going on in their state, right? And there's lots of different ways that can be handled. But if you're going to communicate, you got to plan for it. It doesn't just happen on its own. It does not happen on its own. A program committee, again, this is what we do. It's what we do best. Science and Technology Committee. Is there something in science, in technology, that's more specific to your state, or that you think other people in your state should know about and focus on? That is that's really critical. And hopefully there's something like an operations manual, which tells people how to function and how to do what they need to do in your state. But actually that's a topic for another presentation. So again, we're overlapping some of those roles, but we're really drilling down. All right, here at that division level or that state level, here's just an absolutely excellent way to interact with foresters who are more likely to kind of share values and share commonalities with you. All right, nothing against my new friends from Maine and stuff like that, but a lot of times I'm going to some of these trainings specifically to network with people from my state, and there's nothing wrong with that. SAF gives them the opportunity, the ability to stay abreast of developments on a more local level, the opportunity to use those resources within SAF. And we'll talk a little bit about policy and things like that, and utilizing the work of the national staff in helping to inform your local division and making sure that you're getting the most out of volunteer time there. Trainings based around what local members want. All right, this is that's easy. Sharing success stories. All right. So, and lastly, the division's relationship to its state society. Okay, is we are a division of the state society. For example, it's the New Jersey division of the Allegheny SAF, and we report to them. This will probably be something we touch at in treasury and record keeping, but the New Jersey division is not its own separate entity. We are part and parcel of Allegheny SAF. All right, the main division of the New England SAF. They're not their own thing. They're not their own separate, charity or organization or corporation. They are part of New England SAF, and it's that state society that they are, sort of almost the be-all end-all. They're the ones who they have a tax ID number when you need something to be tax exempt or something like that, or you need to, if you're getting a reduced rate for a meeting room and you need to prove that you're a tax exempt organization, you're not looking for something that says, New Jersey Division of Allegheny SAF. You're looking for something from Allegheny SAF. So that's important to just keep in mind, because folks will talk, well, I belong to New Jersey SAF. well, there is no New Jersey SAF. I belong to Maine SAF. Well, there is no Maine SAF. It's, you know, this is the way that we're organized. It's a little complicated, but to be honest, it does work. Now, some of our states are large enough that you actually have chapters within the state. If New Jersey was a little more organized, you know, we could probably have 2 chapters in the state, in North Jersey and South Jersey. But to be honest, it's probably better that we're all together. But here's a great opportunity for even more dialed in local focus. So for example, Pennsylvania is divided up into 7 chapters. New York is 5 chapters. So this is another opportunity. There are things that go on in the Adirondacks of New York that are specific to the Adirondacks. And they have an Adirondack chapter of the New York SAF. And you know, what a great way to be. You know, because, you know, if you're downstate, you don't have to deal with some of the stuff that's going on up there. Or even if you live in a county that's just outside of there, you know, it's probable that you don't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that goes on out there. All right. So here's an excellent way to keep folks, you know, very specific and have very specific trainings on, you know, in areas. It also takes a larger state like Pennsylvania or New York, and it breaks it down to a little bit more manageable levels where you have a collection of counties, and okay, if you live in one of these counties, you're in this chapter. It also gives a much more informal face to SAF, because when you get everybody in your state together, you know, there is a feeling of formality about it, right? There's a pretty large group of people. It takes a lot of effort to put something together on a state level or on a multi-state level. On a local chapter, you have an opportunity there to be much more informal. And it's like, yeah, we're going to have a dinner program, you know, twice a year. Get folks together and have dinner, and we'll have a quick presentation or two, and a lot of chapters use that to get their trainings across and things like that, keep folks up to date, but at the same time it's a lot more informal. Because it's really designed to be that way, those local chapters, at most, they may only have two advisory committees. Yes, they're governed by an executive committee, and it's that scalability of SAF. But at most, they may have a membership committee, and they may have a program committee. More often than not, you know, they're kind of slouching towards the executive committee does everything, which is why you do see a number of chapter chairs with a little less hair on the tops of their heads. But really, you know, having a membership committee at a local level is really critical, because these are the people they know. These are the people that they are working in their areas, and they can be really specific about what they do, and they can have, you know, probably the most, you know, maximum form of influence over whether or not somebody becomes a member. So this is something that I really try to, you know, put forth to local chapters regarding how informal it is. Really, you know, everybody should have a membership committee. So again, you know, that's just, you know, essentially copied over, but, you know, think of that through a prism of, you know, the local chapters just a little bit less formal. So with that, I'm going to wrap that up with a fast thought, and that is SAF is if all I did was throw up a chart, you didn't see any charts on there. If I put up a chart, everybody would be asleep. All right, everybody would be like, oh, you know, he'd be checking his phone. You know, she'd have her head down on the table. It would be pretty bad. All right, because it's you know, if you're trying to graph it out, it doesn't work. Okay, so when you think about SAF, think about that scalability from the national organization all the way on down to the local chapters. And it's really just taking that structure and it's just kind of photocopying it, and it's just making it a little bit more specific to your area, and still giving giving folks plenty of opportunities to lead, plenty of opportunities to influence your profession. And in the end, that's what SAF's about. Whether you say, hey, listen, I want to, I'm really interested in such and such working group on the national level. You don't need to be nationally important to be on there. It's you go onto the website and you click a little box, and guess what? You're a member. And if you nudge hard enough, you could probably turn into an officer of that working group pretty fast. So this is it's a very diverse organization, and the reason why that's important to us is, you may not be interested nationally in what's going on in water resources, but you say, hey, listen, my area of Pennsylvania, we have some, specific needs, and, we're seeing things going, some needs going unmet. There's an opportunity within SAF, for you to influence in your favor for that need that you see. You may take a look at this, and you may, volunteer as part of your local unit, and you say, you know what, I served on my local policy committee, this, that, and the other thing, but, there are national needs that, really need to be focused on more than they are right now. There's an opportunity for you there. So, really, as we're dialing down through some of these committees, what their roles are, what best practices are for each of them, tune your ear to what interests you. If you're a division chair, or if you're a chair of a local chapter or multi-state society, tune your ear to, I've got so and so, and he or she is looking for a home. They're looking to keep busy with an SAF somehow. Keep your mind open to where they fit in, because it's borderline impossible unless you're dealing with a truly difficult human being not to be able to find them a place where they can serve at SAF. And then lastly, and then I'll take your question, is SAF is an excellent place to practice your leadership skills. It's an excellent place to practice your leadership skills. I could be playing baseball with my kid in the backyard, and he throws a ball and I just whiff, because the last time I picked up a baseball bat was 6 months ago. It's kind of, why would I expect to do anything different, right? It's kind of the same thing in leadership. It takes practice. It's a skill that very few people are innately able to do. Yeah, there are certain people that they're just amazing and just kind of take a step back. But for most of us, it's something that we need to practice. And SAF gives you what's essentially a risk-free opportunity to do that. And I urge you to take us up on that.